Please take a second to subscribe, then like and share afterwards. We can really use your support. Thank you. In our previous episode, we revealed an ancient mystery concerning an evil entity at war with angelic hosts in heaven, manifesting on earth that would turn Persia against Israel. This ancient entity has now manifested in our modern time in the wake of October 7th, 2023. Today, Persia is now known as Iran, and what has transpired following October 7 is perhaps the most prophetic event you will hear in this series. Now, get ready for this. Mohammad Reza Zahedi was the Iranian general in command of the Quds force in Syria and Lebanon, a senior military figure of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The United States had designated both groups as terrorist organizations. Zahedi was critical in giving aid, counsel, and military support to anti-Israeli forces in the region. He was instrumental in strengthening such terrorist groups as Hezbollah on Israel's northern border. Following October 7th, Hezbollah began launching missile attacks into Israel, forcing the mass evacuation of Israel's northern region. An all-out war between Israel and Hezbollah became a very real scenario. Making the situation more dangerous, Hezbollah's ability to inflict destruction in the land of Israel was far greater than that of Hamas. And Zahedi was the key agent behind Hezbollah's power and their actions. On April 1st, 2024, the Israeli Air Force struck an annex building of the Iranian consulate in Syria. Zahedi was conducting a meeting inside the annex. He and those with him were immediately killed. The Iranian government condemned the attack and vowed to retaliate. The Israeli-Iranian conflict was about to enter a new and much more dangerous realm. 2 days after his death, the Iranian Coalition Council of Islamic Revolutionary Forces, an organization affiliated with Ayatollah Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, sent forth a communication praising Zahedi. Memory, the US-based Middle East Media Research Institute, translated the communication into English. It read, "The strategic role of the martyr Zahedi in consolidating and strengthening the resistance front and in the planning and execution of Al-Aqsa flood." It was praising General Zahedi for having played an instrumental part in the October 7th invasion of Israel. For more on the Al-Aqsa flood prophecy, be sure to watch that Secrecies Uncovered episode. In retaliation to Zahedi's death, on April 13th, Iran, with the Islamic resistance of Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, and Hezbollah in Lebanon, launched over 120 ballistic missiles, 170 drones, and over 30 cruise missiles into Israel. It was designed to overwhelm Israel's defensive capabilities. But instead, God would set the Genesis 12:3 promise to work, because it marked the first time Iran would attack Israel directly. This was a watershed moment, a prophetic milestone. Ezekiel had foretold that, in the last days, Persia, or Iran, would launch an attack against an Israel that had been gathered from the nations. That had never happened until now, and it is not to its fullness, but it was the most definitive step ever taken toward it. As we spoke of in our previous episode, there is a spiritual war in the heavens, in the skies above. Thus, on the barrage of rockets coming onto Israel on that day, 99% of those missiles were struck down before hitting their targets, and that was seen as a miracle. The one who fights in the heavenlies for Israel is the Sar Yisrael, the Archangel Michael, as we spoke about. These attacks centered on General Zahedi. He was the vessel, an instrument of the Sar Paras, Iran. In 1 Chronicles 27 it is written, "The general of the king's army was Joab." 1 Chronicles 27:34. Sar Paras can be translated as the general of Persia or the Iranian general. Therefore, in the view of the spiritual realities behind the conflict, it should not be surprising that Israel would strike down a Sar Paras, and in doing so, all hell should break loose. But there is yet another player, even more central to Iran's war against Israel, that would touch an ancient covenant that would end up destroying him. That power behind Zahedi was Ebrahim Raisi, the president of Iran under Ayatollah Khamenei, another instrument of the Sar Paras, the entity bent on death. So too was Raisi. He was known to his own as a minister of death. They called him the Butcher of Tehran, responsible for the brutal repression of Iranian dissidents. He served as judge in the Iranian Death Commission, sentencing thousands of innocents to death without trial, crimes against humanity. It goes deeper. Not only does Sar mean chief or ruler, but so too with the name Raisi. It means chief or ruler. It is deeply prophetic. Then, only 1 month after the death of Zahedi, on May 19th, 2024, the helicopter which he was flying in over Iran's East Azerbaijan province crashed into a mountain. The Abrahamic covenant of Genesis 12:3 was working overtime. Raisi's first name was Ibrahim, the Arabic equivalent of Abraham. The butcher bearing the name of the man who received the promise of inheritance of land to God's people, empowered and armed those who sought to remove the children of Abraham from the land that God had given them. Even more prophetically, if Raisi used the skies to bring terror and death to Israel, then it would be prophetic that this destruction would come to Raisi through the sky in an airborne object. As he had done to Israel, so it was done to him. Genesis 12:3 in poetic fashion. And it was reported that the final official statement Raisi ever made was a threat of Israel's total annihilation. It is quite possible that this prophecy was carried out by Michael, who was fighting in the heavenlies, or the Oranos. And where do we find this prophecy? It is in the book of Ezekiel, concerning Israel's end-time invasion. It is God's word to the invaders. "I will bring you against the mountains, and you shall fall upon the mountains." Ezekiel 39, 2-4. And the timing, even more so. That day Israel was celebrating Passover, the day that commemorates the day God delivering them from the power of an evil leader in Egypt. Up next, we arrive to the promised verse in Revelation 12, the time prophesied for our future in which we are currently entering, centered on the enemy's war against the rest of her children. Here on Secrecies Uncovered.